Hi everyone, it's Jimmy. Today I want to show you two very special snowboards. So these are both Sim snowboards. One's a 1500 FE and then the other one's a 1600 FE. So they're both the same design, one's just a little bit longer. So these two boards are both vintage snowboards, but to this day this design still looks amazing. So I want to show you both boards. I want to tell you the story of how I got both boards and what makes these two boards special. I also want to tell you what role this board design played in the movie James Bond. And if I have the footage of me unboxing these two boards, I'm going to throw it in the video. So let's get the video started. Sweet, man. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. It's a heavy box right here. This one's going to be a pain in the butt to open. See if we can take one out at a time. Nothing in here. These two boards right here are pretty rare. I bought these two boards from a guy that doesn't snowboard, but he did an excellent job packing. I've purchased snowboards from people that other people that snowboard, and sometimes like I've gotten stuff packed like really bad. I mean, I wouldn't even call it packing, just throwing a board in a box and sending it to you. And sometimes it's funny, the people that don't snowboard actually pack the stuff good, like better sometimes, but it varies. There's a lot of guys that send the boards really nicely packaged, and that means a lot because we're paying, you know, some good money for these boards, and they can't come damaged. If they come damaged, and especially them being rare, it's kind of, it would be heartbreaking to see something like that. But that's cool how the guy, there's two boards in here. This guy packaged the nose really good and the tail's really good. So let's take a look. Let's see what we got. I'm excited, man. I cannot believe I have these boards. This is cooler than I thought, man. Damn. All right. Wow. All right, so this is a vintage Sims 1500 FE. Wow, these are interesting boards right here. Really happy to have this one. We got one. There's another one in here. Get all this garbage out of here. Let's show you. So we got a red one. Let's check this one out. And we got a black one. You know, these boards are rough, but they were used. And the story behind these two boards, I gotta tell you later, guys, but it's pretty cool. Okay, so now that you got to see the unboxing of these boards, let me tell you a little bit more about these two models, and then we'll talk about the whole James Bond movie. But let's start off with the Sims 1500 FE. So this 1500 FE has the red top, and it's got the white base, no Sims logo on the bottom. Still has some old wax from back in the day, but this board does not have any metal edges, and it's got a center fin and two side fins that you see right here. This is a 1984. But this board was ridden hard, but it's really beautiful. I love this board. By the way, I did have the footage of the unboxing. I kept that footage because I've always wanted to make videos about these boards and other boards that I've purchased in the past, but I just never pulled the trigger. But I kept those on an external hard drive, and so maybe I'll show you more clips of some other boards that I have as well. And I have some of the unboxing for some of those. But let's move on to the 1600 FE. I really love this board. So this is the Sims 1600 FE. By the way, FE stands for fiberglass epoxy. So this Sims 1600 FE is an 84-85 model. It does have metal edges. It's got the Sims logo on the base, and it's got one center fin that you see right here. But this board is interesting because it does have the holes for the side fins right on the sides here, but they're sealed off. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the video. You'll kind of understand why. But These two boards here, they were designed by Tom Sims. So Tom Sims, this guy was amazing on a surfboard, on a skateboard, and on a snowboard. And he was one of the pioneers of snowboarding. This guy had a lot of skills when it came to board sports. But he designed these two boards and he did an amazing job. I look at these boards and they're some of my favorites, if not my favorites. I really feel like Tom Sims knocked it out of the ballpark with this design. I feel like these FE boards were way ahead of their time. So let's grab this 1500 FE and let's talk about the James Bond movie. So in 1985, there was a James Bond movie that was called A View to a Kill. And in that movie, there was a scene where they're on a glacier and James Bond is on skis. He's escaping from the bad guys. He steals a snowmobile from one of the bad guys. As he's taking off on the snowmobile, there's a helicopter that kind of goes over him. The helicopter starts shooting at him. He jumps off of the snowmobile and the snowmobile explodes. As he's laying right there on the snow, he notices that one of the front skis from the snowmobile is right by him. He jumps on it, takes off on it, but that wasn't a ski from a snowmobile. What that really was an FE series board, just like this. They made it seem like it was a front ski of a snowmobile, but this is what it was. I've seen pictures from the Colorado Snowboard Museum in Vail, and it really is a 1500 FE. It might be a different year, but they're very similar, and it is a Sims snowboard. Tom Sims and Steve Link, they were the stunt doubles for Roger Moore in that movie. And to me, I feel like that movie was super special because in 1985, it was still the early years of snowboarding. A lot of people had never seen a snowboard. So a lot of people watching that movie must have been looking at that scene and they must have been like, whoa, that was amazing how he was shredding down the snow. So I think that's really, really cool. But that's the role this board played in the James Bond movie. So some of you might be asking, hey Jimmy, where did you get the boards? So let me tell you. So I bought these boards from a guy in California. So he was selling both boards separately and I had an interest in the boards. The only problem is that I didn't know a lot about the Sim stuff. So I knew about the FE boards, I just didn't know what their value was. I didn't know the years. The Sim stuff is a little harder to learn about because there's not a lot of stuff out there. It's not like the Burton stuff where you can find websites and you can kind of figure out years. The Sim stuff is a little rare. There's some differences sometimes in some of these early boards, and so it wasn't an obvious thing for me. So this black one stood out to me for a couple of reasons. The first thing I noticed was just how beautiful the shape of this board was. It looked like it had like a tough industrial look, but it had a sexy shape to it. But what made it look kind of like a strong industrial look was just the extra inserts that it had. I had never seen anything like that on a Sim snowboard. I had seen pictures of other FEs, and so that kind of stood out to me. So I reached out to the guy and I said to him, hey, what's the story with that board? Where did you get it from? And he gave me a simple response. The guy was really nice. He just said to me, you know what? I bought it from a guy that grew up in the Lake Tahoe area. And so I said, that board looks interesting to me. And I know a lot of the Sims riders, some of them lived in the Lake Tahoe area. So I started to think, could it be like a team board or something like that? So I told him I was super interested in the boards, but unfortunately the price that he was asking for each one of the boards was just too much for me. And not knowing enough about the Sim stuff, I wasn't sure if I wanted to spend that money. So I said to him, hey, I'm interested in one of the boards. What would be your best price? So he sends me a message and he says, you know what? I'll be willing to give it to you for this price. And I thought about it and I'm like, there's something about that board. I really want it. There's something different about that board. So I said, man, he dropped the price a lot. I'm going to take the risk on that board. So I decided to buy the board, and then I think about it and I said, well, if this one's special and that one came from the same place as this one, maybe I should buy the other one. I should try to buy it. So I send him a message and I say, hey, I'm interested in the other board too. Did it come from the same place? And he says, oh yeah, they both were, I bought them from the same spot. And so he says to me, I'll be willing to sell it to you for the same price that I gave you the other board. So I pull the trigger and I buy both boards. So after I buy both boards and they're shipped to my house, I sent him a message and I said, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but every time I buy a snowboard, I kind of want to know the story behind the board. Is there any way you can tell me more about the board and how you got it? And he says, no problem. So he sends me a message and I'm going to read you that message that he sent me. So this is what he had to say. No worries, I grew up snowboarding a little, but not in the typical fashion. My older brother had an original Burton Performer, we used to ride on a golf course near the house when it snowed. I ended up being a skier and racing for my high school, so that's my story. Onto the snowboards. Several years ago, I was at a garage sale late on the second day. I saw 2 snowboards on the garage, Your Snowboards Now, and asked the owner if they were for sale. He said that they might be and told me he grew up with Palmer and the boards were his. So Palmer, he used to be a professional snowboarder and he used to ride for Tom Sims. So he goes on to say, I have a friend who is good with friends with Palmer too, and told the owner. He thought the connection was cool and agreed to sell them to me. I originally thought I'd see if my friend would have Sean sign them for me and I'd keep them. I really don't like to bother people and ended up not asking my friend to get the boards signed. The story with the boards is that they were Sean Palmer's boards. I couldn't verify that. I sent him a message, but he never replied back. But I did reach out to Mike Chantry, who was part of the Sims team in the early days with Tom. And I sent him pictures of both the snowboards. He thought they were cool. And when he saw the black one, right away he said, that's a team board. And the reason he knew right away is because of all the inserts that the board had. That's the same exact thing that caught my attention. The other thing I noticed too, there was little different stuff on this board, but the holes were sealed also. Remember I mentioned that earlier in the video. My original thinking ended up being true. So these boards came from the same spot. I don't know if they were Sean's, but they were definitely team boards, and they both came from the same place in Lake Tahoe. I really hope you guys liked this video. I hope you learned something from this video. And if you did, please hit the like button and please subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. I'm almost at 4,000 subscribers, so that would be really helpful. And the more people like these videos, the more they can spread to other people and other people can watch them. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, guys.